Right now, somewhere in the world, a crow is watching you. Not metaphorically, literally. A crow perched on a wire above a parking lot is looking at the person walking below, scanning their face, filing it away, deciding something. And what it decides might last for years. We spend so much time wondering about animals, what they feel, what they want, whether they dream, but we almost never flip the question around and ask, what do they think of us? When a dog stares at you across the room, what is actually happening behind those eyes? When an elephant sees a human approaching from a distance, what does it feel? Because here's the thing science is beginning to uncover. Animals are not just reacting to us. Some of them are actively thinking about us, judging us, remembering us. And, in some cases, they have formed opinions about individual humans that outlast years of separation. And depending on the species, those opinions are very, very different. Let's start with the animal most of us share our homes with. Your dog knows your face, not just your smell, not just your voice, your actual face, the arrangement of your specific eyes, nose, and mouth, is registered in your dog's brain in a region that researchers have actually identified using MRI scans. When dogs look at human faces, a dedicated area of their brain lights up specifically for face processing, the same region that human brains use to recognize other humans. But it goes deeper than recognition. Research published in scientific journals has shown that dogs can read human emotional expressions. Happy face, angry face, sad face. Dogs distinguish between them and adjust their behavior accordingly. Studies suggest they even look to human faces for emotional guidance in uncertain situations, the same way human toddlers look to their parents for reassurance when something is unfamiliar. So what does a dog actually think of you? Based on everything researchers can measure, your dog likely perceives you as something like a very large, slightly strange, deeply important member of its social group. Not quite a parent, not quite a packmate. Something unique that evolution spent thousands of years designing them to understand. And critically, dogs can smell your emotions. Cortisol, adrenaline, the specific chemical signature of fear or stress. Your dog can detect these before you have consciously registered them yourself. You walk into the room anxious about something, and your dog knows before you have said a word, before you have shown any expression. You have never had a secret from your dog. Now here is where it gets uncomfortable. Cats have a different view entirely. Studies suggest that cats treat humans less like social companions and more like, and this is not an insult, just an observation, other very large, very clumsy cats. The behaviors cats show toward humans, slow blinking, rubbing their heads on you, presenting their belly, tail-up greeting, these are the same behaviors cats use with each other. They are applying their own social language to us, which means from a cat's perspective, you are not a human owner. You are a giant, mostly harmless, occasionally useful cat who is terrible at hunting and inexplicably obsessed with small glowing rectangles. Cats chose to domesticate themselves, unlike dogs who were shaped by human selection. They walked into our camps, decided the arrangement worked for them, and stayed, largely on their own terms. And that independence appears to still live in how they see us. They do form genuine bonds with individual humans, research shows this clearly. But the nature of the bond is different. More mutual, less dependent, more like equals. But the animal whose relationship with humans is perhaps most unexpectedly complicated is not a mammal at all. It is a crow. Crows can recognize individual human faces. This has been demonstrated repeatedly in scientific studies. Researchers wore specific masks, behaved in threatening ways toward crow populations, then observed what happened when those same masks appeared weeks or even months later. The crows, not just the ones directly affected, but nearby observers who simply watched, reacted with alarm and hostility specifically to those faces, long after the original incident. Brain scans reveal that when crows viewed human faces they associated with threat or care, the birds had increased activity in the amygdala, thalamus, and brainstem, areas related to emotional processing and fear learning. In response to threatening faces, the parts of the crow's brain that regulate attention and fleeing also activated. Their brain is processing a human face as both a memory task and an emotional one simultaneously. And crows hold grudges. Long ones. They will teach their children which humans to avoid. They have been documented scolding specific humans for years after a single negative interaction. One researcher who wore a particular mask during a study found that crows in that area were still reacting to it after several years had passed. So if you have ever been cruel to a crow, even once, it may remember, and its family may remember, and its family's family. Now go larger, much larger. Elephants, whose brains are finely tuned for social interactions, can distinguish between different human ethnic groups, sexes, and ages, and use stored information about individual humans when making decisions. Researchers observing elephant herds have recorded cases where elephants recognized companions and humans they had not seen for more than 20 years. What this means is that elephants carry a mental map of human individuals, who is safe, who is a threat, which group of humans in the past behaved with hostility. And that map travels with them across decades of their lives. There is a documented case in Kenya of elephants that showed consistent avoidance of members of a specific local community. Not all humans, specifically that group, believed to be because of historical conflict. They had not forgotten. Across generations of their group, the knowledge persisted. An elephant that sees a human does not just see a human. It sees a human, cross-references that individual against a lifetime of stored experience, checks their clothing, their smell, their gait, and makes a judgment call in seconds. We think of ourselves as the intelligent species. Elephants are quietly running background checks on us. And then there is the animal nobody expected to think about us at all. Octopuses. Research from the Seattle Aquarium documented that octopuses can remember individual human faces and react differently to people who have treated them well versus those who have agitated them. An octopus in a tank would consistently spray water at a specific staff member who had bothered it. Not every person who approached, specifically that one person, while showing no such response to others. An octopus, an animal whose brain is distributed across its 8 arms, whose evolutionary line separated from vertebrates over 500 million years ago, is keeping a list of humans it does not like. Intelligence, it turns out, evolved to solve social problems. And social problems very often involve figuring out who around you can be trusted. Now, step back for a moment and think about what all of this reveals. Every animal we have looked at is doing something similar, in its own way, using its own cognitive tools. Dogs read our emotional faces. Cats apply their social grammar to us. Crows memorize our features and teach them to their children. Elephants cross-reference us against decades of stored experience. Octopuses keep personal grudges. None of them see what we see when we look in a mirror. They have no concept of us as the dominant species, as civilization builders, as the creature that split the atom and painted the Sistine Chapel. They do not know any of that. To a crow, you are a face attached to a memory attached to a feeling. To an elephant, you are a specific scent and movement pattern filed under safe or not safe. To your dog, you are the most important social relationship in its world, decipherable through scent, expression, and routine in ways that you yourself cannot fully access. And to a cat, you are a large, clumsy, emotionally transparent creature who provides food and warmth and occasionally needs to be nudged off the better sleeping spot. But here's what makes all of this genuinely humbling. These animals do not need language to have opinions. They do not need philosophy to make moral judgments. They simply observe us, consistently, carefully, over long periods of time, and they remember what they see. Which means that in every interaction you have ever had with an animal, whether you realized it or not, you were being evaluated. And somewhere out there, the crow on the wire is still watching. It has already decided.